Hi everybody, welcome back. It's Angie again and Kirubo, and we are going to continue a conversation on mental health awareness.
Mirror, mirror, mirror on the wall, telling those lies.
Angie, do you want to tell us what mental health awareness is in your opinion?
Mental health awareness and mental wellness is just the ability for each person to recognize their specific abilities and be in a space where they are physically, emotionally, and psychologically healthy for them to use their abilities to undergo the day-to-day struggles. Normal tasks like just waking up, eating, going to classes, going to sleep, doing your laundry are things that we take for granted. But there are times in life when, because of the state of your mind, or because of the state of your emotions and your well-being, you're not able to do even these simple and menial tasks that we do on a day-to-day basis. Mental wellness is being in that space where you're able to go through a day-to-day activity in an okay fashion without necessarily having to push yourself extra.
What could be a cause of that?
A lot of research and science has gone into trying to figure out what really causes mental health issues, and for me this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, but I feel like we really still do not have a concrete answer that says this is the reason, because as far as we know, who we are is a factor of a lot of things: your genetics, your environment. So it's a combination of nature versus nurture. And so you really can't say and point to the fact that this is the one thing. There's some people who genetically are predisposed to getting like some mental health issues, and maybe an environmental trigger is what would cause that, or like a psychological event would happen and that would cause that. And that sometimes you just wake up and you just feel like you're sad and you don't know why. So sometimes you really don't know what the main trigger is.
Different people have different manifestations of mental health, so
Yeah.
I don't know if you've experienced it. Would you like to share that?
It wouldn't be justifiable to say that I have necessarily gone through significant bouts of mental health episodes, but what I can say is, from a personal level, I've gone through tragic events that have maybe caused me to be sad, almost to the point of depression, where you really don't understand what is going on, but at the same time there are people who I know would probably struggle on a deeper level, so I wouldn't want to take away that from them.
Thanks for sharing. What were some of the ways you were able to cope with the situation? I find you to be jovial all the time, and sometimes it's difficult for people to see beyond the smile and the happy-go-lucky attitude. So how can somebody who may be struggling with getting out of bed or doing their laundry or going to class be able to deal with this?
So I think that coping mechanisms are definitely going to vary based on people and based on the situation that you're talking about. In my case, for example, I know there was a time in my life where I was really struggling to figure things out, and this was at a point where I had lost like my guardians. I think you know of this. My grandfather passed away. 2 weeks later, my grandmother passed away. So it was a very tragic time in my life. If you're one of those kids who've actually grown up with your grandparents, you know how close they really are. And for me, it was actually my grandparents who raised me, so they were very much my parents. And so just being able to lose the two of them in a span of 2 weeks really threw me off my game. And I think it was a lot more easier for me to cope with it because I had something to cling on to, and I could tell myself, I know I am sad because this happened. But in some cases where you fall into a bout of depression but you really don't know why, it becomes a little bit more difficult, in my opinion, to get to understand that. And then there's this thing that Mark Mason, who's a very big author, talks about, where it's like the feedback loop from hell, where you're sad but you don't know why you're sad, and so you try to figure out, you get sad for being sad, and then it just becomes a loop. So in my case, just being able to point or find that trigger point and say, hey, I'm sad because this happened and because this happened, and it really helps me to be able to remind myself and anchor myself and try to get myself out of that specific situation.
I lost one of my aunts.
Yeah.
And one way I was able to honor her memory and I feel like cope with it was by dedicating my senior thesis to her. And it felt so wonderful, and every time I'm walking around and I remember how a funny time we had together, I just pray to her. That's how I deal with it and cope with it.
Yeah. And so I feel like in these cases that we've talked about, we have, it's mainly tied towards a certain tragedy that happened, which maybe causes a certain spiral. And like I said, your emotional well-being and your mental well-being could be triggered by anything. So at times you just wake up on a random day and you really don't feel like doing anything, and you have no idea why. I think in those cases it's very important to also just reach out to your support system, whatever that may be. A lot of schools and campuses do offer services where you can go and just talk to someone. Just being able to recognize that and waking up and going, just that courage is just the first step, and it's the most difficult step.
I just remembered, which is funny, I shouldn't forget this, but when I was second year of college, I went to the counseling services, and that's because boyfriend issues, guys. Boyfriend issues. But anyway, so that could be a story for another day, but I really needed to get out of this relationship, and I wasn't able to do it on my own. And going to the counseling services really, really helped me.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah. And so I think just also reaching out to, younger people like us, where I feel we come from a background and a culture where we really don't talk about mental health.
That's true.
We don't talk about mental wellness. We don't talk it's very easy for us to just have a facade and be like, hey, how are you doing? And when things are rough, multiple times I've found just a quick, get it over with, or like suck it up and wake up and do things.
Pray to God
to help you. We get a lot of that. So just at the same time, just recognizing what is really happening and reaching out for help becomes something that's very important.
Not even just mental health, but I feel like in my experience, just with my parents and family in general, we don't even talk about emotions. Like the relationship I feel that I had with my parents, was more transactional. Hey, have you done your homework? Have you studied? Have you cleaned those dishes? Go to bed. It was never how you really feeling. To parents, if anybody is watching, just having that time where you actually really are interested in what your child is going through is a wonderful way to get to the core of some of this mental health issues, and also just to make them know that they can be comfortable coming to you. Because if you dismiss it and it's a serious thing, then it's never addressed, and that's not a good thing.
That's true. And at the same time, it might be very difficult for you if you're an international student and you've come to the US or any other country for that matter. You're away from your family, and maybe you don't have that close relationship with your parents, or you're scared of your parents, and there's just like a lot of intricacies that can come along with this whole wave of struggle. And so I just feel like reaching out to even professional help, it's okay. And there's a lot of stigma that is still associated when people say that I have been to a psychiatrist or I've been to a psychologist. A lot of stigma is still associated with that, but at the end of the day, it's about you, and it's about you being okay. So something that you should always remember is people are always gonna talk, no matter what, whether it's about your mental health, the way you look, the way you dress. So either way, just think of it as something else that people will talk about, and just go get the help that you need.
Parting shots.
And stay healthy. Take care of yourself, I would say.
Eat well,
and exercise. Exercise actually really helps. So if you go to a Zumba class and you dance out, it might help sometimes.
I need to do that. I'm horrible at exercise. Even my screensaver right now is an exercise I should do, but I'm still failing at it. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe so you can get notifications of our other.
Subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.